Can we get a luxury SUV for under £10,000? Let's find out. Okay, the first car is the Range Rover Sport L320. As you may have seen from my other videos, I own one of these, and despite it costing a bit in the initial repairs, £1,300, it has been an amazing car ever since, and I do not regret buying an old Range Rover. In these frosty winter mornings, it's such a nice car to commute in. In our budget, we're going to be looking at around 2009 to 2011 HSE models, as this is just after they upgraded the interior and released a facelift, and just before the later 8-speed SD-V6, as they're still a bit more than our 10k budget. There are a few engine options for these Range Rovers: the TD-V6, the TD-V8 and the petrol V8. The petrol V8 and the TD-V8 are a much higher price for a good one, so I'm recommending the TD-V6 here. The 3-litre TD-V6 HSE has 242 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of around 9.3 seconds. It definitely doesn't feel like it deserves the name Sport based on the power of this engine, but the handling with the air suspension does make for a great drive, especially when you consider the weight of about 2.5 tons. For £10,000, you can expect a 2009 to 2011 HSE with around 60 to 70,000 miles. Now, for some of the running costs, road tax comes in at £675 a year for this version. This luxury comes at a price. Fuel costs at a current UK average price of £1.59 per litre for diesel comes in at roughly 24p per mile for the 3-litre TD-V6. Car finance, I'm going to assume an average credit rating and then the average APR for that rating as of December 2023 in the UK, which is currently sitting at 13.5%. If you finance one of these at £10,000 with a deposit of £2,000 over a 5-year term, you'd be expecting monthly payments of around £180. Insurance. This is based on circumstances, but I am going to use me as an example, as that means each car is relative, giving a good indication of which cars on the list are a bit cheaper to insure. For me, the Range Rover is coming in at £1,000 per year to insure. This is really quite high, but the insurance on Range Rovers has gone a bit crazy recently due to a lot of them getting stolen. Annual servicing on these sit at about £300 to £600 depending on a minor or major service. These cars have dropped in price quite a bit recently. This time last year these would be around £12,000 to £14,000. I don't believe there is much room for depreciation here, so they could be a bit of a steal, pun intended. There are always worries on these for costly repairs and reliability, and I would make sure to bear that in mind when budgeting. This cost me £1,300 in my first month of ownership, but it's been faultless ever since, touch wood. Make sure to get a well-maintained example, and around this mileage, make sure to have evidence of the cam belts being changed. Check the handbrake is functional and the air suspension goes up and down without any issues. These cars are so comfortable to sit in and so easy to drive. They come with cruise control, heated screens, which is brilliant in these winter months, heated seats, front and back, and even a fridge in the armrest. With their age, they don't have Bluetooth audio, but a small £50 Bluetooth dongle sorts that. Also, you can upgrade the original screen to have Apple CarPlay for about £500, which if you add that into your purchase cost gives you a really luxurious car with all the modern tech for incredible money. Next is the BMW X5 E53. These cars really do range in value. Styling wise, I never really liked them when they first came out, but the looks have grown on me. They are the cheapest car on our list, but I think you really do get a lot of car for the money here. They're a bit older, but I think they have aged very well. I know someone who's owned his for 7+ years, used it for constant towing, and it's been incredibly reliable. I've done a 300+ mile trip in one of these while towing, and it was incredibly comfortable, and returned some amazing MPG. For around £5,000 to £9,000, we can get a 60 to 80,000 mile E53 X5 in great condition with good service history. Both the petrol and diesel models are options for us at this price. The 3-litre diesel has a 181 brake horsepower with a 0 to 60 time of around 10.5 seconds, giving roughly 30 mpg. The 4.4-litre V8 has 320 horsepower with a 0 to 60 time of just 7 seconds and returning about 20 mpg. These are some great figures considering it weighs about 2 tons. Running costs. Road tax varies quite a bit due to its age. If you get one pre-2006, the tax is just £375 for the year and on the 3-litre diesel, and mid-2006 onwards is £675 a year. So definitely something to keep in mind. The 4.4-litre road tax comes in at £395 a year. I don't believe the 4.4 had any models later than August 2006, which is where you would pay the higher tax. Fuel costs at a current UK average price of £1.59 for diesel comes in at roughly 24p per mile for the 3-litre diesel and 34p a mile for the 4.4-litre at £1.50 for unleaded. The petrol V8 will obviously increase fuel usage significantly when pushing with those 320 brake horsepower. For car finance, I'm going to assume the average credit rating in the UK and the APR for that, which is still 13.5%. If you finance one of these at £8,000 with a deposit of £2,000 over a 5-year term, you'd be expected a monthly payments of around £135. Insurance, again using my circumstances, but it'll give a good comparison against the rest, comes in at just £415 a year. This is significantly cheaper than the Range Rover. Annual servicing on these, you'd expect to pay between £200 and £400 for a minor/major service. I think these cars have really hit the bottom price point. If you buy a top-end one with low miles and put a load of miles on it, you can expect to lose a couple of thousand in depreciation. But if you buy well in the mid-range, I can't see them dropping huge amounts. There are a couple of issues to look out for on these. In the V8, watch out for a chain rattle on cold start due to worn timing chain guards. This tends to happen around 100,000 miles or sooner with poor maintenance. If this isn't treated, it could be the end of the engine. The door handles can break due to the design requiring them to be lifted slightly rather than pulled straight out. Coolant leaks are another thing to look out for. BMWs of this age are known for this. I had an old E85 Z4 that went through a few of those plastic coolant tanks. Overall, these cars look to give a good sense of reliability, and if well looked after, will give many thousands of miles of trouble-free motoring. These cars are a bit older, so some of the tech will be very outdated, but as for a comfortable, luxurious place to sit, at this price point, I think you could do a lot worse. They're incredibly comfortable cars, easy to drive, and come with the usual cruise control, heated seats, etc. You get great towing capacity and a split tailgate as well. The tech can be upgraded as with the Range Rover, and you get a very modern feeling car with a great capabilities and reliability for a bargain price. If you've made it this far, please drop a like and subscribe, guys. Help this video spread. Any comments and suggestions, leave them below. Okay, next on the list, Porsche Cayenne. Now, these are a bit higher in the price range. There are only a handful available within our budget, under around 80,000 miles. You can get the 4.5 litre petrol and the 3 litre TDI V6 ranging from 60 to 80,000 miles. I think the most fun would be had in the manual V8 with a 3 litre TDI V6 Tiptronic being the most car for the money. I really like the look of these cars. I think they've aged really well. In terms of luxury SUV, these definitely need to be near the top of the list. The 3 litre TDI V6 has 240 brake horsepower with a 0 to 60 time of 8.3 seconds, which is quite a bit quicker than the X5 and the Range Rover diesels on our list. It'll also return around 30 miles per gallon, which is the same as the X5 and the Range Rover diesels. Still very respectable considering it's about 2.2 tons. The 4.5 litre and the 4.5 litre turbo have 340 horsepower and 450 horsepower respectively. The naturally aspirated 4.5 litre with a 0 to 60 time of 6.6 seconds and the 4.5 litre turbo having a 0 to 60 time of 5.4 seconds. The MPG of the NA and turbo both being around the same at 18 miles per gallon, so it seems like the turbo is the way to go. All that extra power for not a huge amount more in cost if you consider in petrol, that is. Tax for the diesel for 12 months comes in at £675 a year. The petrols are coming in at £695 for the year. Both are not cheap and sit in the highest tax bracket, but what a car. Fuel costs at current UK average price of £1.59 per litre for diesel comes in at roughly 24p per mile for the 3 litre TDI V6 and 40p a mile for the 4.5 litre and 4.5 litre turbo at £1.50 per litre for unleaded. Again, when pushing along with the more fun petrol versions, expect this to cost a lot more. Ports of 11 to 12 miles per gallon are common here. If you're not doing many miles though, the petrol would be brilliant fun. Car finance, same details as before. If you finance one of these at £10,000 with a deposit of £2,000 over a 5-year term, you'd be expecting monthly payments of around £180. Insurance, looking on the same details as previous cars, comes in at just £370 for a Cayenne 4.5 litre. That is incredible. I wasn't expecting this to be the cheapest for the insurance so far. Definitely something to consider to offset those extra miles in fuel. Annual servicing for these, expect to pay around £200 for a minor service and up to £600 for any major servicing. The petrol Cayennes do look to be £100 to £200 more to service than the diesel. These cars are only just available in our budget, so they may come down a little bit more yet, but at these price points I don't think you're going to be much room for depreciation here. Huge amount of car for the money. If you're considering the Porsche Cayenne, then be aware that it can be expensive to run and expensive to fix, but could very well be worth it if you find a good one. Be on the lookout for coolant leaks on the earlier models. This was all plastic and split over time and often leaked over the engine and onto the starter, also causing that to fail. There was a recall put in for this, so just make sure that that's been done, as this could cause major failures and be a very expensive repair. Many owners report many miles of hassle-free enjoyment out of these cars. Maintenance is key though, as with all of these, and when the prices start to drop, maintenance can always be neglected. These cars are definitely luxurious. The specs can vary though. I believe the turbos come with the top spec, and some available with air suspension, which does have its issues, but when working makes all the difference to comfort. The tech will be a little dated as with the others on the list, but definitely room for upgrades here. Keep on the lookout for well-maintained and well-spec car, and it'll be a very rewarding SUV to own. Last on the list is the Audi Q7. There are not many of these about on our budget, but a few exist around 2007 to 2010 with 70 to 80,000 miles. We'll be looking at the 3 litre TDI V6 in our budget. I really do like these cars. I've never owned one, but the styling and size of them makes it really appeal to me. They can be a bit tricky to drive due to the bulk, but the visibility is still good and they come with all the usual sensors to help. The Audi interior all got big updates in later years, but I think these cars have aged quite well. Some of the tech shows its age, but it still feels like a very luxurious place to sit. The 3-litre TDI V6 came with 240 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 time around 8.4 seconds, returning about 30 mpg. This is the same as the Cayenne diesel and quicker than both the Range Rover Sport and the E53 X5. For the running costs, the road tax is again in the highest bracket here due to it being newer than the 2006 and a huge diesel, so that will set you back £675 for 12 months. Fuel costs at a current UK average price of £1.59 per litre for diesel comes in at roughly 24p per mile for the 3-litre TDI V6, the same as the other diesels in this list. For car finance, we're looking at the same as the others here. If you finance one of these at £10,000 with a deposit of £2,000 over a 5-year term, you'd be expecting monthly payments of around £180. We'd be looking at hitting £10,000 here. I don't think there's many available below the top of our budget. Insurance, looking at the same details as previous, comes out at £575. This is very respectable. I think it sits second highest in the list, but this is about half the price of the Range Rover, so that's definitely something to consider. Annual servicing for these comes in at about £300 to £550 for the Q7. I imagine you can get this a bit cheaper at some independents though, but I don't think that's a terrible price for the type of car this is. These are only just starting to get within our budget for a good one. Again, I don't think there's much room for depreciation here if you buy well. Of course, if you buy at the top of the budget with low miles, put a bunch of miles on it, then we'll come down a bit. But if these come down much more than 10k, then they really will be a bargain. As with all the cars on the list, make sure to get one that has been well looked after, with a good service history. But a couple of things to look out for. Keep an ear out for rattling on start caused by a faulty timing chain tensioner, and if you're hearing any whining from underneath the car, that could be a sign of a problem with the centre prop shaft bearing, mostly apparent between 30 to 40 miles an hour. These cars look to have a good reputation for reliability though, and if well looked after, should give you a lot of miles of comfort. The Q7s can come very well equipped, so definitely keep a good lookout for these specifications. They have air ride too, which is with all these cars with air ride can be expensive to fix, but when it works, it's worth so much in comfort and luxury. It has parking assist to help with the bulky size and options for reverse cameras too. The Q7 doesn't have a split tailgate, but it does have a powered tailgate, which is very luxurious. They are hugely practical and brilliant for long distance cruising. The tech can be updated too, but the interior I think still looks good even today. As these are 13 to 14 years old, the sat-nav will be mostly useless, but you can upgrade this to have CarPlay and it seems very modern inside. If money was no object, I'd be driving the 4.5-litre Cayenne Turbo. I can't imagine a more fun, practical and luxurious SUV than that. However, my choice on the list, as I own one, is the Range Rover Sport, although after looking at these insurance prices I may need to consider a different option. Let me know which on the list is your favourite, which you'd own, and if I've missed any that should be on there. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Goodbye guys.